let's hear what Teddy Covers is thinking on this NBA card. Please welcome to the show on a Monday morning, getting ready to get this week popping off. Teddy Covers coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, how you doing today?
I'm doing lousy, Jimmy. I had a lousy weekend. I've been in a lousy mood. I'm grumpy, and I could really use some of your good energy this morning. So, actually, something about you, Jimmy. You make me smile. I've been grumpy as hell, dude. You haven't been wanting to hang around with me at all the last 24 hours. That's not the case right now. Sorry, I just fixed my microphone.
Can you
hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound great. That's honesty, and that's the way it works. We're not always feeling glorious. Sometimes we're angry. And personally, I like that edge in my capping when I am angry because I feel like I'm a little bit sharper and I take advantage of situations when they arise. And your honesty is just, it's real. And I enjoy that very, very much. It's not all grass stains and ice cream. We got a battle here.
That's the truth, man.
Jerry Beatty says, Jimmy, please ask Teddy about the Spurs. I will, but let's hear what Teddy likes in the association. So what we're going to do, Teddy, is we're going to start with NBA. Then we want to hear how you're going to handle the Monday Nighter, and then we will go into NCAA football. So right now, Jerry Beatty has a question, and I'll copy and paste it. But what is jumping out at you on this NBA card?
Three plays I'm interested in on the NBA card. For today, and they're all near the top of the card. I laid 1.5 points with the Pacers in Detroit. Detroit went into Indiana last week and spoiled the Pacers' home debut. I'm expecting Indiana to do the same thing here. A lot of talk in Indiana after the loss to the Cavs on Saturday about playing defense this time. I think they're capable of doing that, and the Pistons aren't likely to have Reggie Jackson tonight either. So. When you're without your point guard and your best player in Griffin, that, in my mind, is enough to take Indiana in that spot. That's one that I like. I heard you talking about the Toronto side. I like the other side of that game. I took Orlando plus against Toronto. I put 4.5 in my pocket. I see fives out there now. I didn't think they were going to be fives earlier. Orlando currently ranks number 29 out of 30 NBA teams in offensive efficiency. They've missed a lot of open looks. Every quote out of that locker room was, "We're missing open looks. We can hit these shots." Playoff revenge. Toronto's not a team I want to lay with early on. And I like Orlando coming off a bad showing. So I took the Magic plus, again, 4.5 in my pocket. And the third one is the easiest one of the bunch. The money's already coming in. Just fade those Warriors. Fade them. Till proven otherwise. I laid 4 with New Orleans this morning. The only other one that I was considering was Chicago -1.5 against the Knicks. I haven't pulled the trigger. I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger on that one. There was nothing on the back half of the card that I was really even close with. Clippers laying 15.5 and Houston laying 10 and all of that. I didn't get involved in any of those contests. So I like the Pellies against Golden State's a bet against every opportunity right now. I took Orlando plus. And I took Indiana minus. That's the 3 solid opinions I have for the NBA on Monday.
Yeah, very interesting looks. The Pacers makes a ton of sense. They're an angry group. Still, they got to start rebounding the basketball. Until they start doing that, but I can understand. They're extremely angry, embarrassed in Cleveland, and need this win desperately. And then the Raptors side, I've got a different idea with this Raptors team. And that's that they have a ton to prove. And I just think that a regular, and I can understand not wanting to back them early and things like that. I think I'm going to turn it around and start back. Now, I did not back them in their home opener, which they ended up covering in overtime somehow. I did not back them against the Celtics. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start backing them. And I know how situational NBA is, and we've gotten off to a really nice start here on the show, and I don't like backing them after a dominant performance. But they did not look good at home. They know what this Magic team is capable of from the playoffs, and Magic played them very tough. So I think that getting anything under 5 is something that I find appealing. But I can understand your breakdown, too. And then I totally understand your breakdown of fading the Warriors, but my thought when we were talking about this game was if Drew Holiday is announced out, which is so likely, won't you get an even better number?
Maybe. I laid 4. So, I mean, the line's at 4.5 right now, and the Holiday's very much a maybe for this evening. But the concept is we're going to bet against Golden State until proven otherwise. And, the Warriors are telling us they're not any good. They're showing us they're not any good. Defensively, Golden State's dead last in the NBA right now. And one thing New Orleans, and again, it's a Pelicans team that is winless right now. They're not a team I'm comfortable laying points with on a regular basis. They don't play that type of defense. I wouldn't argue with anyone who wants the over in this game, but I'm definitely looking to bet against teams on their first, second of back-to-backs, like the Warriors are in here. I'm looking to bet against teams that aren't playing defense, and the Warriors aren't playing any defense. And I want a winless team at home. Again, everyone's coming for Golden State this year. No one's taking it easy on the Warriors. So I think if you're looking for bet against right now, Golden State at or near the top of my list.
Yeah, I wonder how. I'm very interested in this game. I think I may run with you, but I'm very interested to see how the Warriors respond to that absolute trashing they received from the Thunder. Okay, we are going to move from NBA over to NFL, and I've got something that can put a smile on all of our faces right away. And I had a bad day Sunday. In my week, I had a 5-1 day. The only loss was in CFL on Friday. I swept, went 3-0 in NBA, 2-0 in MLB, and I was like feeling good. Then Saturday, 7-8 in NCAA football, and then 2-5 yesterday in NFL. So, but here's a way to put some smiles on our faces right now. Our guy, Vaughn Polo, whom we love, an OG lowbagger, says, Jimmy, I'm going to tag you in a picture on Twitter soon as my son is being born. We are expecting him any day now. Vaughn Polo, that is wonderful, wonderful news. And, I'm very, very excited to see that picture and to have another lowbagger in the family. We've had a couple real fun spots with our lowbaggers showing us in the delivery room, capping in the delivery room, Q Peso, Matt Randall capping in the delivery room, and we've become so in love with their children, and I'm sure Vaughn Polo will be doing the same. So much love to you, Vaughn Polo, and I know Teddy will have some sweet things to say to Vaughn Polo. So what do you think about Vaughn Polo about to have his first son before we get into NFL, Teddy?
That's freaking awesome, man. I mean, look, I've made a bunch of good decisions in my life, a bunch of bad decisions in my life. The best decision I ever made was having a kid. And I mean, literally the best decision I've ever made, and it was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And it took me a long time. It took me into my 40s before I was interested, and willing, and able, I guess. But I love it. And of course, my son Isaac was born in June. He was born, so it was like, all right, it's baseball time. It's a little bit slower season, so I didn't have to go into living room handicapping. But I really appreciate those of you who are having kids born in football, and especially this time of year where it's, everything's going at once. It's got to be tough. So congratulations, man. I've done nothing but the best wishes to you and your new family.
It's wonderful, wonderful stuff, Vaughn Polo. Can't wait to see the pic there. Okay, let's get to work, Teddy. So let me just tell you my first instinct, and I stopped, and I've not made a move, and I'm having a bad NFL season, and that's after 2 good years in front of everyone, a bad NFL season, and I know there's time to turn it around, and I'm still very hopeful. But with these Dolphins, I see Fitzmagic, and I know that the Steelers are 6-0 against Fitzmagic, and Fitzmagic is wild and unpredictable, but I think that he's going to be able to put up points. And my very first lean was towards the over, even against this vaunted Steelers defense. But then I saw Twadi Latte saying that his best bet was the Dolphins team total under. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we take some time and slow down? My first instinct is not being a winning one. And that's what I've done. I have slowed down and not made a move. But my first instinct is over. And this is too many points for a Steelers team that struggles offensively. Teddy covers the totals at 43. Couple 43.5s. Pittsburgh opened at 14.5 and is now a bunch of 14s on the board. Miami, Pittsburgh. How are you handling the Monday Nighter?
I'm not even close to betting it, Jimmy. I'm really not. I mean, if it was 17, I don't know if I'd want Miami. If it was 11, I'm not sure I'd want Pittsburgh. Total-wise, I'm not convinced. I really don't know what to do with the total. These aren't two teams that I'm confident in either way. Pittsburgh's not the type of squad I'm looking to lay double digits with right now. The Steelers are built on defense. I know Mason Rudolph's coming back tonight. They do have a downfield passing game, but make no mistake about it. Tomlin's goal is to ground and pound. And Pittsburgh is looking to have all those first rounders on defense step up and dominate the game. And that's what Tomlin would look to do. If Tomlin has his way, tonight's game will stay under the total. And it might. Miami has shown signs. They played after playing completely non-competitively through the first month of the season. The last 2 weeks, the Dolphins have been competitive. The question is whether this hopeless, winless team is going to be able to bring that level of effort and energy for 60 minutes. Because you worry about Miami. We've seen the Dolphins play a couple of decent 30-minute games. 60 minutes has only been the last 2 weeks. And when you're talking about a team that gave everything they had against Washington 2 weeks ago and gave everything they had against Buffalo last week, and now do they do it again? Do they bring that to the table? I'm not convinced that Miami has that level of energy or execution to bring that multiple weeks in a row. I'm really not. And when you're talking about it, we know what Fitzmagic's going to do. He's going to chuck the football up and give his receivers a chance to make plays. That also gives the opposing defenders a chance to make plays. That's how he plays. And when it works well, his team scores 40 points. When it doesn't work well, he throws a couple of pick sixes and his team gets blown out. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Pittsburgh do that tonight. I really wouldn't. If I had to play the game, I'd probably play, free bet. I'd probably play Pittsburgh. I do not trust Miami to bring the level of effort and execution that they have the last 2 weeks. And I think Pittsburgh's coming to play. At 2-4, the Steelers, there's still some semblance of hope for the Steelers season. At 3-4, they're in it. They're not in hopeless land. But ask them to win by margin, by more than 2 touchdown margin. It's just not a game I'm into, Jimmy. It's not a game that I was close to betting, and it's not a game that I'm planning on betting right now. So I wish you all the luck with Dolphins or team total under, however you want to do it. I have no idea how to play this. So if you find something positive expectation, I'm all ears.
If you were, I think Polo This, Polo That has it nailed. Polo This, Polo That, by the way, also dropped a great, and I missed it at first just because there were so many comments coming in, dropped a great prop bet taking Trae Young over 2.5 threes every night until the market corrects itself. And that's great. Polo This, Polo This, Polo This, Polo That is correlating, and this makes sense. So if you like the Dolphins to cover, then you like the over. If you like the Steelers to cover, then you like the under. Does that make sense?
No, it's really not one of those games where there's a strong correlation. Miami could, again, if Fitzmagic's chucking the football around, the Dolphins could score. The Dolphins could score points, and they could cover with an over. At the same time, if Pittsburgh shuts the Dolphins down, the Steelers could cover and go under. So it's not a situation where I'm seeing a direct correlation between sides. It's not like we talked a lot about Auburn LSU last week, and I'm like, if Auburn's going to hang, this game's going to stay under, and it did. Those are clear correlations. This isn't one of those.
Yeah, and what is your expectation of Mason Rudolph coming back?
I think Mason Rudolph is capable of chucking the football around. He's got a decent deep arm. So I do expect Pittsburgh to have the opportunity to throw long and take some big play potential. I don't see them just ground and pound. But again, if Tomlin has his way, the Steelers will hand the ball off 40 times tonight. And it'll be a ground and pound game, and they'll win 21-3. Rudolph is not a bottom tier backup, but he's not Big Ben either. But he's got a decent arm. He doesn't have a lot of starting experience. He's not a QB who I trust to come in and execute this offense flawlessly.
Yeah, no, it's well put. And I don't feel any more comfortable of doing anything at this point, and that's where I will stay off at this point. But we have a late show to talk about this as well. And we will be going live. I will be on Live Line this evening, so we'll be live betting the game, and I got a bottle of Hennessy in my bag, so we're gonna have some fun tonight. Okay, let's move on to college football, NCAA football, and as we always do, let's go over what went right and what went wrong. And this is my card. Missouri, Kentucky under was a nice casher, and then 3 losses: Ball State, Texas, and the FIU Middle Tennessee under, which was ugly, terrible. Then I tailed Teddy on Western Kentucky. I didn't get and I almost didn't because I was only going to get a 4.5, but I did, thankfully, and cashed that. And then I doubled up on the Illinois game. Got Illinois plus 9.5. That was another tale of Teddy. And there was another spot where I was like, oh, Teddy got the 10. But I was like, you know what? Let's go with it at the 9.5. And I also hit the under there. So at that point, everything's fine. At that point, I'm 4-3. Then Central Michigan got killed, and I was on Central Michigan. The Charlotte game, I wish I went on the over with you in Charlotte, North Texas. Instead, I just took Charlotte, but there was an easy spot to double up. Again, I was fortunate with the touchdown with 18 seconds left to cash Charlotte plus 4. Then the Indiana-Nebraska under was ugly. And then everything Teddy said about the Texas State-Arkansas State game happened. Texas State did not score in the second half, so I didn't get to that over, And at the half, I was like, oh, they're putting points up on the board. And so that was a loss. Then Florida Atlantic smash. That was Drew Martin helping spot there. Then I did 2 small schools. And, Ravens being incredible with the small schools. And I picked 2 of his small schools. I lost them both. Montana State, minus 2.5. Coming off the bye, I just thought they could get there for me. They did not. Montana State, Davidson was just probably my ugliest bet on the board. And then I closed the night with UNLV plus 12. Thanks to Ralph Nunziata. 7-8. Ugly stuff. Rafa, could you put up my record? Angry, but still hopeful, and we'll still be hammering more action this week. Teddy Covers, how did your NCAA fall off?
Crappy. I had a crappy weekend overall. You know me, Jimmy. If I'm in here on a Monday and I'm smiling, it's all good. I had a good weekend. If I'm in here Monday all pissed off, I didn't have a good weekend, and I didn't do a lot of stuff right. Iowa State wasn't right. Texas wasn't right. Virginia wasn't right. Central Michigan was a turnover debacle. That game was really frustrating. Utah State was dead wrong. I mean, I had a lot of wrong sides, and that's not what I like to see. Obviously, the Charlotte, North Texas over was good. The Western Kentucky, that was wrong too. We were lucky when the Hilltoppers came back in that game. I mean, I had 2 right sides. Illinois was a right side. Illinois was pretty easy. Illinois was really easy. That game was over it wasn't over at 3-0, but it felt over like from a point spread perspective at 10-0. Purdue had no business in that range, but to get 1 right and then we cash a couple of coin flips, that's not what I expect to do on a college football Saturday. So, like I said, it's not a good Monday morning. And when you have that happen, all right, and it was not a good. I mean, October as a whole was a crappy month for me. It was a crappy in MLB, it was crappy in NFL, it was crappy in college football. When you go through a full month, and you're just not, you can't put together that one streak, and you can't put together that one monster weekend to get that's what you do. Okay, that's what I do. All right, breathe, take a couple minutes away. Normally on Sunday night, I'm peppering the board with bets. I did not do that last night. And part of it was that I went through the card once and wasn't seeing stuff that jumped out on me. But part of it was like, look, you've had your October has not been what you thought it was going to be. Take a break, think about something else. We'll come back and look at it tomorrow. And that's exactly what I did last night, and today's tomorrow. So I will get back and look at it today. But sometimes you have to do that, Jimmy. We talk a lot about handicapping the games. You got to handicap yourself, and myself, I mean, I was in no position to sit down and focus the way that I like to focus. So if you're not feeling that way, all right. Find something else to do, get back to it. But in terms of the time frames that things are normally in, if you're struggling, if you're going through a down patch, you do want to change things up a little bit. You want to shake things up. So yeah, I shook things up a little bit this week, and that unfortunately is going to not be good for today's show because I don't have any bets to give you guys today. That being said, hopefully the results will, a little tweak, a little flick, maybe that'll help turn things around because I'm a little bit frustrated today, Jimmy. I really am.
Yeah, I hear it, and I hear it in your voice. And one of the things that Pete always talks about is handicapping the handicappers. And often I find the guys that I look up to, their bounce back weeks is something that I can really believe in after a tough week. It's a great thing to back somebody who's and the way that you are adjusting by handling things differently makes perfect sense. And so let's just take it easy and start going through the games that are the most appealing. We have questions coming in, but I have no doubt that you are going to catch fire here in the second half of the season. So let's start taking a look at spots that are appealing, and maybe we should just go to the big games here. And we should start, I don't know, but let's. I'm definitely not going to want to start in the pack because the pack scares the shit out of me time and time again. Why don't we start off with this nice spot here? And you will know the totals before us because I'm just here with the Sportsbook review page and we don't have the totals coming in. But why don't we start with SMU Memphis, two teams that are definitely trending in the right direction. Memphis looking very good of late. They open up a -3. We already see 3.5s and a 4 at Pinnacle. Why don't we start off? Does the market move make sense with Memphis at home against SMU?
I was surprised by it. I was surprised by the number, and I was surprised the way that the number moved off the opener. Total at Circa here in Vegas opened 68.5. I'm sorry, that's the current number. I don't know where it opened. But most the totals don't move that much until the mark. Yeah, that hasn't moved. What you'll see, and it's fascinating because Circa is posting some of the first numbers, but Circa's numbers don't move until the BOL numbers go up. And then you'll see the moves come once bettors have an idea of what other books are thinking, as opposed to what the first book is thinking. But I was surprised by this number. I understand that Memphis has looked pretty, it's looked better the last couple of weeks, but SMU catching 4, that's a lot of points for SMU to be catching against a team that they might be better than.
And Devin Wade saying SMU is not trending up. Not trending up. Guru Sportsbet says that's an over game. Memphis will win by margin in that one. SMU overrated. SMU overrated. Devin Wade saying SMU not a consistent cover team. And yes, Stack-Wop, we have touched on NFL already.
Let me jump in. Jimmy, let me jump in real quick there about SMU because I couldn't disagree more about SMU not being a team that we like or SMU. Just because SMU didn't cover the number against Houston. All right, and just because they're not, they're not blowing everybody out every week, doesn't make. Now the roles have changed. They don't have to win this game by margin. They have to lose it by a field goal or less. It's a completely different role that we're talking about this team, and a role that we haven't seen. Maybe SMU gets smacked in this game, but SMU's won every game so far this season. They're 8-0. They're not trending down, in my opinion.
No, that was my initial reasoning for saying trending up, but regardless of the Houston game. So I agree with that look, Teddy. And this is probably a spot where you want an angry football team that feels like they were sort of embarrassed even though they squeaked out the win. Let's move on to what looks like the marquee game. I know we have Kansas State and stuff like that, but Georgia, Florida. Georgia on the road opening up at 3.5, now 4.5. Talk to us about that market move.
So, I mean, my gut reaction in this one was that's a lot of points. That's too many. I mean, we've seen Georgia face 2 tests this year. The Notre Dame game, they didn't blow them away. Obviously, the Irish were in that game start to finish, and then they couldn't put away South Carolina. I'm not convinced they're going to go into the swamp and win that game by margin against the Gators defense that, Florida's defense is real. So my gut reaction there is let them bet Georgia all they want to. I'll be looking at the home dog in that one. So I'm seeing a couple of 4.5s out there at what we like to call leading indicator books. I don't know that holds in terms of where this number is going. I don't know that I don't expect it to go any higher than 4.5. So in terms of a Florida bet, 4.5 might be the time to do it if you like Georgia. That first move went towards Georgia. I'm not convinced the next one's going to. Fascinating game. Line move predictor, not easy. But like I said, if you like the Florida side, plus 4.5, it makes sense to me to lock in now.
And Matt Randall is already locked in Florida. That was part of his Monday plays. We're going to go over Matt Randall's Monday's looks. And as well, we've got some other looks on the board from Rod Zawacki and questions coming in from Jerry as well. So let's just touch on a couple more games, then we'll get into the questions. Another big spot, TCU, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State minus 4.5 opening. And there's already a 3 at Heritage, which makes it look like the public is, or whoever is gambling early is buying into TCU's win over Texas. What do you think of Oklahoma State opening up at 4.5 and now 3.5 for 3s?
Well, TCU's got a statistical profile that the bettors are interested in on the defense side of the football. Gary Patterson's got a defense, and the defensive stats are very strong, and that's why we're seeing TCU money in this ballgame. Of course, we saw money come against Oklahoma State last week, and that turned out to be dead wrong. They played a very nice bounce-back game at Iowa State, and Iowa State wasn't good enough to continue that momentum rolling. That being said, my conception of Oklahoma State as being a flawed or a vulnerable team, I think is real. This is a game where side and total may well be related. TCU's not winning shootouts. TCU wants low-scoring, defensive-minded games this season. So this is one where I do think that TCU is going to hang. Okie State's not getting in the 40s. I wouldn't be surprised if TCU hangs around. This might be one of those that I look at the money line.
We have some exciting rivalry spots that I'll ask Teddy about, and then we'll get into your questions. Miami, Florida State. Miami, looked somewhat improved against Pittsburgh last week. BetOnline has dropped us a number, and they're the only book up here with Florida State as 5.5-point favorites. What's your first instinct when you see Florida State 5.5-point favorites against the Hurricanes?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out why, because the game's not on the board at a lot of places, and all I'm seeing is Cam Akers. And I can't believe that Cam Akers, I guess he's enough to move the point spread, but he's not someone who's going to move the needle more than a half or anything. And I guess Miami's got QB injuries. Both QBs got hurt against Pitt. I know Miami got the win, and we talked about how the spot was right, but that offense isn't going to do anything against anybody. All right, the line is weak, the quarterback play is weak, the skill position talent isn't stepping up. Miami's not a team that I can trust against any team that can score. The question is whether the Seminoles are capable of putting up points. And obviously, this has been a dog series, a major rivalry series, et cetera, et cetera. And not a series where laying points has done you a whole lot of good. And Florida State's not a team I'm excited about laying points with. But, Miami's no good. And they're coming off a win, which sometimes gives you an even better opportunity to bet against them. So I guess my gut reaction is Florida State or under. That might be the best of the bunch. 49.5, the total I'm seeing over at Circa here in Vegas. But most books don't have this total posted yet, or the game posted yet.
Miami, Florida under is a early lean. Let's move over to Kansas State. Kansas State looked good last week. Do they keep it rolling? They open up as 6.5-point favorites, and there is a 7 on the board at Pinnacle right now. Kansas State, Kansas, Teddy.
Yeah. Kansas is playing competitive football week in, week out. Kansas State's coming off a really big win. Really, really, really big win. This might be a spot where the dog is live. And you're seeing that in the spread here, where, the 6.5 as opposed to the 7s. Lean towards the dog. Total 57.5. And Kansas is a dead nuts over team right now. Their defense is not getting stops in bunches. Their offense can put up points. 57.5 to me seems a little bit low. Although K-State is not a team that we expect to play the shootout game like they had against Oklahoma the other day. But I don't know what to do with that game. I'm going to think about it. It's not anything that I'm about to get to the betting window with on Monday morning.
We have Jerry, Beatty, and Scott asking about teams playing against each other. Jerry Beatty saying, Jimmy, please ask Teddy about finally fading UAB this week. Scott says, ask Teddy if the Vols are a bet on team right now. And here we see UAB, Tennessee. Tennessee, this is rotation number 367, 368. Tennessee opening up at minus 10.5, quickly 10s and 9.5s on the board. What do you think about this spot, UAB, Tennessee?
It's a really interesting game, and this is a game that I'm expecting to do some work on today. Tennessee might, when you have a team that was awful over the first half of the campaign, and then all of a sudden the light comes on, they win a game, they cover a spread, they win another, that team can absolutely be a bet-on squad down the stretch. And Tennessee has that potential. And UAB is a team that I was looking for opportunities to fade, and they feasted on a bunch of weak teams. And if I can find something that tells me Tennessee's interested in this game, I'm likely to get involved on the Vols. That being said, I'm not convinced that Tennessee's going to be interested in this game. Interested in, all right, we're focused on this opponent and not looking ahead to what's going on the following week. So it definitely, when you're talking about especially laying double digits with mediocre teams in strong conferences, Power 5 conferences, when they step down in class against a non-Power 5 foe. It's one thing when those games happen in September, and all right, yeah, teams will come in and they'll smack them. A lot of times at this time of the year, you don't see that same level of focus against a non-conference foe. So if UAB's interested and Tennessee's not, the Vols are vulnerable. This is a game that I definitely want to do some reading on over the course of the next 24 hours.
Next up is a question from Cassano Magic. Can you ask Teddy, please, about Ole Miss plus 18 at Auburn? There is an 18.5 at Bookmaker and some 18s, but we have seen 17.5s on the boards now at BetOnline and Pinnacle. And the 17.5 is juiced as well, minus 114 at Pinnacle, minus 115 at BetOnline. What do you think about Auburn, Ole Miss?
Well, I know I don't want to lay with Auburn this week. This is not your let's lay big price with the Tigers. Coming off a huge down to the wire barn burner game where they end up, and on the heels of several other that was like that. This is not a spot where I'm excited about laying any price with Auburn. The question is, how excited are we about Ole Miss? And they are coming off a bye. They have that extra time, et cetera, et cetera. It certainly feels like a Rebel spot. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see some Ole Miss money come in. And if I was going to play the game, just a gut reaction, that would be the way it would look. This is not a spot where I want to lay 3 scores with Auburn.
Raven in the Desert liking Ole Miss plus 18. Raven in the Desert also liking Kansas plus 6. Question in from Joshua Snow, the Thursday nighter, Georgia Southern, Appalachian State opening, and now 20th ranked Appalachian State, opening up at minus 18. There's a 16 at Bookmaker now, 16.5 at BetOnline and Heritage. What do you think about this spot on Thursday night?
Well, it certainly Georgia Southern is attracting sharp money right now. So I will say this much. If you like Georgia Southern, you've already missed it. Yeah, you may want to grab it. You've already missed the best of it. You may want to do it to get involved sooner rather than later. App State's the team in this, what we talked about last week, the concepts of the teams that play defense in the lesser conferences are your bet on teams, and App State's that team. But this point spread range for the Thursday night affair is a little bit rich for me. I can understand why the money's coming on Georgia Southern.
Another question coming in from Cassano Magic. Tulsa at Tulane. Tulsa opening up at plus 10, I believe I saw. There we go. No, sorry, opening up at 9. Tulane opening minus 9. Now there's 10s on the board and a 10.5 at BetOnline. Does that market move towards Tulane make sense?
So my gut reaction here was looking at Tulsa plus as opposed to Tulane minus. And as the line was moving toward, the Tulsa, as the Tulane money was coming in, I'm like, okay, no rush here. And this was one that I considered betting right off the bat. I'm like, you know what? You haven't made a bet yet. This isn't the one. Take your time this week, Ted. That's basically what I told myself. So my initial reaction was towards Tulsa plus. I have not yet pulled the trigger.
Not yet pull the trigger. Michigan gaining 18.5, open at 17.5, now getting 18.5 at Maryland. Rod Zawacki wondering what you think of Michigan here.
I'm not going to lay it. It's not a game I'm close to playing. Michigan's coming off a huge win, laying a big price on the road. This is not a role that we trust the Wolverines in. It's not. Maryland is outclassed by the better teams that they face in the Big Ten, and we've seen that clearly. And when the Terps let go of the rope, they let go of the rope, and that's happened on a handful of occasions. We talked about that with Nevada in the Wyoming game. We don't trust the teams that let go of the rope. Once okay, twice no longer okay. Maryland's done it now 3 or 4 times. So I don't trust the Terps either. So for me, that's an easy game. There's a very little chance I get involved in that one.
Then we have more questions coming in from Rod Zawacki. The next is Boston College. He's interested in Boston College plus 2.5 at Syracuse after the shellacking they took this past weekend. Do they bounce back here against a much easier foe?
I would rather have Boston College plus than Syracuse minus. I mean, we talked about Syracuse as a team that, they're just not good. And at 3-5 right now, all right, they're must-win mode, et cetera, if they're going to make a bowl. I'm not convinced they're going to. BC's in a comparable spot at 4-4. And I think BC's the better of these two teams, and I think that BC is going to be able to run the football against the Orange defense. So this one does feel like a wrong team favored. type of situation, as opposed to, I know I won't be laying with the orange. Syracuse is no good right now.
Matt Randall really loving his favorite spot on the entire board is Bowling Green at home against Akron, but market moving in Akron's direction, opening at 6.5, now moved to 6 at Pinnacle, now 5.5 at BetOnline. Why would people be backing Akron?
Because they don't think Bowling Green can lay. I mean, you're talking about a 2-6 team laying 6.5 points. Bowling Green's no good. They're no good on any field. And I understand that Akron's worse. But when you're laying points with a bad team, they tend to do bad team things for you. I do not trust the Falcons laying a price. I mean, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I know I don't want Akron in any game where they got to win or come close in order to cover the number. But BG's not. They're not the type of favorite I'm interested in. Not even maybe.
A couple questions I didn't get to in time, and I made a note that I didn't get to them. So will Moses, your question, Callie in HD, your question, I will add tomorrow to the questions. And we have one final thing from Scott, a bit of a different look here. And how did I just lose it? Scott talking about, Scott's on Dobbins for Heisman. He has a dark horse future on Dobbins for Heisman. Do you think that is alive?
So, of all the awards in sports, I think the Heisman is the single stupidest one because it's really not based on anything. It's a pure popularity contest. It's whatever player gets the most hype on a team that goes undefeated or loses one, the team that's, a top 5 or top 10 team. And that's who wins the Heisman. It's pretty random. Most of the voters are either senile or don't watch college football. I kid you not. Take a look at that voting list. So it's pretty random. I don't get involved with Heisman voting. Dobbins, sure, you get someone who's live at, what do you got him at in your pocket? I wouldn't even consider a Heisman bet at less than 40 or 50 to 1. So I hope if you have a number like that in your pocket, great. But again, there's no way to hedge it. There's nothing you can do until the final. I guess you can hedge off a Heisman bet when it comes to who gets invited, and then they'll have new odds at that point of the people that got invited. But even then, if you have one guy, how many? What are they? 3 or 4 people get invited. I mean, that's a ceremony I never watch. I think it's 4. Do 4 people get invited, Jimmy? The bottom line is you can't even hedge off it then. So whatever you got in your pocket that's what you got in your pocket. Good luck with Dobbins.
I love it. I love my uncle won the Heisman the year before OJ, and watching him vote, the voting process is very, very funny, and hearing his leans to who he likes. And he'll jump on the show too with us, Teddy. Once it gets to bowl season, I'd like to have him jump on the show. He's awesome. fun guy to cap with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that real? Your uncle won the Heisman?
Yeah, for UCLA, Gary Beeben, the first small quarterback to succeed, and
that's really cool, dude.
He's a lot of fun.
More about Jimmy every day, man. Good for you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, and he'll jump on the show when we get bowl season. So he's a fun guy to cap with, and I look forward to having him join us and talk a little college football come bowl season. There we have it. We have the early breakdown, and I have a suspicion that Teddy Cover's going to have a monster week, and I love when if just changing it up, and that's what you've done this week. And then you find that you're looking at these games with fresh eyes, and I'm excited to roll with you. And by the way, Teddy, the games I rolled with you on were all winners, so you helped me very much. So you put some money in my pocket, and if I hadn't have followed those looks that you were on, because I wasn't on, I was just on your winners, so you helped me very much. So you can at least take that, put that in the pocket. What a treat it is to run with you every day. And the honesty about how you're feeling is important, because we know this business is full with a lot of bullshit of guys who never lose. And we know that that's not the case. So I just love seeing your honesty. I love working with you each week. And thank you so much for sharing your hard work with me. And the cappers in the chat, do follow this man, Teddy_covers on Twitter. And Teddy, any last words for these guys in the chat?
Yeah, man, take it easy tonight on Monday Night Football, dude. That's all I'm going to say. Is that this is the type of game that it just feels like there's going to be some random ending, doesn't it? ATS.
Yeah, it does.
Be wary. Enjoy the games. Good luck. Thanks so much, Jimmy. And what am I going to do, dude? I'm all I can do is be real and be honest. When I'm running good, hey, I'm great. Everything's great. Pat yourself on the back. When you're not, you got to be straight with people. Honesty is the best policy. Shucks. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a great day, buddy.
Much love to you, Teddy Covers. Corey Simmons says, what were Teddy's NBA plays? Tell you, he's on the Pacers at the Pistons. And the angle makes so much sense to me with the injuries going on with Reggie and the forcing Derrick Rose to play 40 minutes. We're going head-to-head. He is on the Magic. He's on the Magic against the Raptors, so we're going head-to-head there. Then Teddy is also fading the Warriors one more time. So that's what he is doing, fading the Warriors one more time. Von Polo says, Breeders' Cup can't get here fast enough, man. I can't wait to work on that non-stop. Thank you, AM Moneyline. Thank you, all you guys in the chat. It is a pleasure to roll with you. Yeah, those were his picks, Jerry. He's got none in NCAA football yet, so those were his 3 NBA plays, and he's not making a move on the NFL card there.